Rapidlogger is the leading provider of efficient monitoring software and hardware systems for oilfield and petrochemical applications.
In this tech note, we will cover the process of connecting a Rapidlogger ExD and a Rapidlogger main unit in a master-slave configuration with double encoders. To complete this task, you will need a Rapidlogger main unit, a Rapidlogger ExD unit, a coiled tubing injector encoder, a laptop with an Ethernet connection, and 2 test encoders. First, we will ensure the correct firmware version is installed on the Rapidlogger unit. Open the Auto Update utility and select the unit you want to update by clicking the Find button. Next, click the Browse button to load the latest version of the firmware.
Here, we will be using version 9.9 AR of the firmware. This is the minimum version required for this process.
Now, click the Update button. The firmware is now updated.
Now, download the correct coiled tubing setup into the Rapidlogger unit. After this is done, ensure the correct parameters are set in the RapidView program. For this demonstration, we have set up a remote depth variable and a remote speed variable as part of the coiled tubing unit setup. Next, open the Rapidlogger ExD unit. Take out the Rapidlogger board and lay it on a workspace. Now, connect the encoder into the Rapidlogger ExD unit. To do this, connect the ground wire for power for both encoders into the terminal block J5-8. Then, connect the power wires for both encoders into the terminal block J5-6. Now, the 2 quadrature signals from the encoders need to be wired in. Plug the first wire for the first encoder into J5-1, and the second wire from the first encoder into J5-3. We plug in the first wire from the second encoder into J5-2, and the second encoder's second wire into J5-4. Now we will wire the Rapidlogger main unit to the Rapidlogger ExD to supply the CAN bus connection and the power. This is a 120 ohm resistor and it is required on all CAN bus connections. First, turn off the power to the main unit so as not to have any power shorting issues. Now we can wire the red wire into the power output of the Rapidlogger main unit. Next, we can connect the other side of the power and CAN cables to the Rapidlogger ExD unit. First, install the black wire or the ground wire into the terminal block J1 pin 2. Then install the yellow wire or the CAN high signal into J3 pin 2. Then the green wire or the CAN bus low signal into J3 pin 1. A 120 ohm termination resistor is installed between the CAN low and CAN high wires. Now, the power wire can be installed into the terminal block J1 pin 1. The interconnection between the Rapidlogger main unit and the Rapidlogger ExD is now complete and the power can now be turned on. Please note that while only a 10-foot cable is used to connect the Rapidlogger ExD to the Rapidlogger main unit for the purposes of this demonstration, in reality the CAN bus cables can stretch as far as 250 meters long. Care must be taken to have proper shielded twisted pair wires connecting the CAN high and CAN low signals. Next, use the Rapidlogger System Utility program to install the correct setup files into the Rapidlogger ExD unit. After this, reboot the Rapidlogger ExD unit. Now, the Rapidlogger main unit is receiving depth encoder data from the Rapidlogger ExD unit over the CAN bus connection. Turning the encoders allows the fastest wheel algorithm running on the Rapidlogger ExD unit to calculate the fastest wheel depth and the fastest wheel speed. The fastest wheel depth and wheel speed can be seen changing over here in RapidView. This concludes the setup.